Hello and welcome to the Collective Conspiracy Show. It's been a while. I think it's been 3 weeks as opposed to the usual 2 weeks. We'll just wait for a few people to start coming on and watching. Hope you're all doing well. We were supposed to be interviewing Glenn again today, but again, he's not coming on. So there's only so many times someone can get an offer or an invite. But we'll wing it. I've got a few things to talk about, so I might not be here for the whole hour, but we'll use the time wisely. Got a few things I want to talk about. If you are joining in, just drop a comment in, say hello. Thanks for joining. As I say, for those that are just joining, there is no Glenn tonight. So I was told about an hour ago, so I haven't had long to really get anything going. So I've got a few things I want to talk about. I've managed to get a few screenshots, a few articles to discuss. So yeah, as I say, drop a comment in, say hello. Hi Martin. Are you still in Sweden, Martin? I hope you're not interrupting your holiday to watch this. If you are, then thank you very much. And if you are still in Sweden, I hope you're enjoying it. Right, I need to share screen, so I'm kind of making this up as I go along, really. But let's see how we go. Let's see how it looks. So the first thing I want to talk about is, has that worked? I believe so. So yeah, great. So this is my my new book. So this was released last week in paperback, so you can get this off Amazon or from me if you'd like. I know some people have sent me pictures of the book that's arrived at their house, which is fantastic, but they've had it before me. So I've yet to actually hold a copy of my own book, but I'm glad that other people are getting their copies. So when I do get my copies, I've ordered a fair share. So if you'd like a signed copy, or if you just want me to post one out, I know some people don't really like supporting Amazon, and that's fine. But if you just want it to be sent from me, then just let me know, and I can post one out if you give me the address. So if you just drop it in the comment section of this, if you want to have a look at my book. I'm just going to get up the live feed that shows on my other page, because then I can see both sets of comments. It's a bit annoying that they don't kind of come through at the same time. So let's get it up. Rob Norton, hi mate, how you doing? Hope you're all right. Lauren Fielder, that's my cousin. Hi Lauren, hope you're okay. So yeah, released this last week. You can get it in paperback from Amazon. You can also get it in an ebook, but the ebook isn't released until the end of April. So the last day of April, 30th of April, I think. There's 30 days in April, so you should be able to get it in ebook then. I know there's a fair few people that prefer an ebook, but I do prefer a physical copy of any kind of book, really. I've never been able to get along with ebooks and Kindles and stuff like that. I did try, but I do prefer to hold a physical copy in my hands. So yeah, just let me know if you'd like a copy sending out to you. As you can see, it's a follow-on from a previous book, so this details more about the experiences of what you might encounter when you're out investigating the paranormal. So I've broke it down into categories. So we speak about audible categories, visual, physical, interference, and just the type of experiences that would fall into those categories, and also a few theories thrown in as well. And the one theory I'd like to discuss with you tonight really is, and I want your thoughts on it in the comments, because I've been throwing it around there and been speaking to friends about it to see what they think. But really, as some of you may know, my thoughts on the paranormal stem from my research into the nature of reality and how we perceive the world and our perception of our surroundings. And it is really based on the fact that we do tend to live in a holographic universe, and how there's 99.95% of the world around us that we can't see or interact with. Hi Claire, hope you're okay. And when you think about that, we're just energy vibrating. Some people will call that consciousness, and I'm a believer that there is this kind of one consciousness, and we are all that same consciousness, living or experiencing this reality through these biological vessels that we call our bodies. And when we die, that consciousness is released and it joins that one consciousness again out in the ether. Now, if that's possible, I'm starting to see that it might be that spirits actually aren't dead people. I touch on this in the book. I touch on how a lot of people still approach paranormal investigating believing that they might be talking to the spirit of a once living person, whether that be a relative or a friend or maybe a stranger. People believe that they wake up and they see their mom standing at the end of the bed, or their friend is visiting them as a spirit. But is it possible that really all it is it's this consciousness, it's this energy operating outside of our frequency range? And what we're doing is we're tuning into that frequency, so we are perceiving that energy, but what we're doing is manifesting our own beliefs onto that energy, onto that frequency point of attention. So it's interesting how the Virgin Mary always appears to Christian people, religious people. People that aren't religious never see the Virgin Mary. People that will want to see a Bigfoot will always see a Bigfoot. I think it's all the same point of attention, and we're just tuning into it, of manifesting our own beliefs. Whether that means that it's actually there or whether that means it's in our imagination, I think it's the same kind of thing, because really, if it's in our imagination, we manifest our own realities, which I genuinely believe that we do, then when we're tuning into this frequency, is it not just part of our imagination anyway? If you genuinely think that you've seen your mom stood at the end of your bed, or your friend has walked through the door, if you genuinely think that that's happened, then, and whether it's in your imagination or not, who's to say that it's not real? And as long as you know that it's happened, then you can go to sleep at night, trusting yourself and knowing that you're not lying about it, then it most certainly happened for you in your perception of reality. So who's to say then that this person that is showing themselves as your mom, or showing themselves as the Virgin Mary, or as Bigfoot or whatever, it's not just this collective consciousness? And someone said to me, yeah, but how would that person know to answer certain questions on a spirit board? If I was talking to my mom, I must have been talking to my mom because she could answer all of my questions so accurately. Well, yeah, but if this one consciousness was one consciousness, then it was once your mom. It once experienced a reality through your mom or through your friend. So that, of course, they would know everything about everything that there ever was and there ever is and there ever will be, because it is the collective consciousness. And therefore, once I die and the consciousness releases itself and starts to vibrate on a different frequency, shall we say, if anybody ever tries to contact me, the consciousness can almost manifest itself as me and pretend to be me because it was once me. I hope I'm making sense here. I do detail it a little bit better in the book. I had longer to write it down, really. We've got some people here saying, Rob Norton, life is an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. Yeah, I think I've heard that before. It's very true. We've also got Claire saying, like a subconscious vision type scenario, because it's what you're thinking of. You can manage to bring spirit to this world to communicate. Absolutely. I'll just put that up because it's quite a lengthy comment for people to see. But that's kind of what it is. We're manifesting our own reality and our own beliefs. And this happens on every level of life. People always look for evidence to back up their own beliefs. And that is exactly what's going on here. People will see spirits. They will interact with ghosts. They will interact with UFOs if that's what they want to do. I'm a big follower of the CE5 initiative, where, people go out and try and make contact with frequencies, energies, and extraterrestrials, and it's a fantastic initiative. But essentially, are they manifesting those experiences themselves? And does that mean that they're not there? Kind of. As I detailed in the book, I've been stood next to people on a ghost hunt who, one person has been adamant that they can see something right in front of them, and I'm stood right next to them and I can't see a thing. What does that mean? Does that mean that they're lying? Does it mean they're not telling the truth? Absolutely not. It's happening within their perception of reality. And I think, when you look at things like, I could be in a car next to someone that has a digital radio, so therefore they can access radio stations that I can't on my old rubbish radio. That doesn't mean that the stations aren't there. They're just not there for me. Someone else can tune into them. So within their perception of reality, in their life, they do exist. And it's a really interesting concept, a really interesting theory that I've been kind of playing with. Someone's put in Rob Norton. Yep, you're pretty much on the ball tonight, Rob. That's exactly right. I would call aliens interdimensional, not interplanetary, in my opinion. One way I always use an analogy, and apologies if you've heard this before, but I always talk about the flat. If you're living in a block of flats, and we live on one floor, and you might have the aliens and UFOs above you, and ghosts below you, and cryptids a few floors above. And you know that they're there because you hear them. You can hear them playing the music too loud. You might cross paths every now and then in the elevator. But ultimately, you're on completely different wavelengths or different floors, and you just can't interact with each other. Now, there are some people that can interact, psychics and mediums. They can tune into a few frequencies, but people like me, I've got no chance. Really, when we do interact with spirits and see Bigfoot and all these other paranormal entities, what's happening is we're just tuning into their frequency, and that's quite important for this theory. When people say that they witnessed a spirit walk through their living room and straight outside through the wall or something, people say, oh, she came into my house. Well, no, what I could argue is that what's happening is you're actually, for a very brief period, I wouldn't call it a time slip per se, because I don't think time is linear. Time is happening. We had this discussion yesterday. We're going to have it again tomorrow. We might have it again later. Everything's on a loop. And therefore, that lady will walk through the living room every day. And it's not that she's walking through your living room. Just for the briefest of moments, you've tuned into her frequency and you've watched her live her life at that moment in time. Does that mean it happened in the past? Again, I could argue no. I could argue that it was happening simultaneously, that her existence is happening alongside ours. Whether she's living 300 years ago, as we would think she was, then maybe, I wouldn't. Maybe it could be like that. But I genuinely believe that what's happening is it's a time slip of such, not time slip in the truest sense, because there is no time. And we're just tuning into a frequency that her life or her reality was or is operating on. So it's really interesting theory, and I do discuss this in the book. So again, anyone watching, if you would like a copy of the new book, you can buy it from Amazon. You can get it from me if you'd like it signed or hand delivered or whatever, or you don't want to support Amazon, I appreciate that. And you can get it an ebook on the 30th of April. It is available on ebook. Just want to move on from this now, but just before we do, Claire, it's similar to looking at abstract art. One person will look and see a picture, another person will look and see something completely different. Absolutely. Something I always say is I take colorblind as an example. Some people will see something as green, someone else might see it as red. Who's right? In the person's reality where they're seeing it as red, it is red, and nothing can change their perception. Nothing can change their mind. It is genuinely red. Just because you see it as green or you see it as blue, that doesn't mean that you're right and your opinion supersedes theirs. In their reality, in their perception, it is green. So I just want to move on slightly from this now. We will come back. Dave saying, just literally about an hour ago, saw a spirit in our house, a lady in white, cook cloves in our dining room. Well, I hope she was cooking something nice, Dave. What did I have tonight? I had a beef and Stilton pie, homemade by the wife. Very nice it was. Rob, I love this. Well, stick around, Rob. Hopefully, I'm going to get a bit more controversial now, a bit more maybe conspiracy based in a second. So do stick around. So the next thing I want to talk about is slightly on topic of the book. I hope this works. I need to get to it. I've got a few things I'm sharing with you here. We'll come back to these. No, it's not there. Of course it's not there. This is the one. Okay, so let's just try and share this. So if I remove that, I will come back to those. We definitely want to talk about that tonight. Okay, and we'll open up what I want to show you. So I did share this on my Facebook last week, and I promised myself I wouldn't kind of focus on this really, but it's ate at me, to be honest, as the week has gone on. And I've spoke about it to a few close friends, and they all share my opinion. So I want to kind of get your guys' feedback on this really. So here we go. So hopefully you can see this now. So this was something that I had from a guy who runs a paranormal page. I'm not going to name him. I've crossed his name out. And when my book was published, I shared it on dozens and dozens of groups, the big groups, the kind of big paranormal groups. I shared it on the local groups, the places where I go and give my talks, like Birmingham UFO group, East Anglia UFO group, places like that. And I shared it to this guy's group. And back in the day, years and years ago, when he started this group, I was quite an avid participant on this guy's group, and we used to have a regular chat. And I think he's forgot who I am, really. But anyway, I tried to share an advert of my book, and he said, "Do I get a free copy?" And I've asked, "Well, what's in it for me?" And he then comes on this rant, as you can see here, 8,000 subs on YouTube, 4,000 on Facebook, measuring dicks, basically. He was going to give me a shout out, but he's going to give that a miss. Well, who cares? I mean, what annoys me about people like this is, why does he want something for nothing? Can he guarantee me that those thousands of people, will buy one of my books? Probably not. He also can't add, because the figures he's given there don't come to 22,000. He's probably also not considering the fact that a lot of those subscribers on different channels are the same, that have just subscribed to various platforms, no doubt. So it's probably close to about the 12 or 13,000. But he is Rob Ego, absolutely. So I talk again a little bit in the book. I talk plenty of times on presentations and podcasts that I've given about these egos. It's the most haunted effect type ego, and it's these people that dominate the paranormal field, not just paranormal, but UFOs as well. And it's really quite frustrating to see. If there's a very good artist, some of you might know him, Lloyd Canning. He does some very, very good paintings, beautifully coloured paintings, very kind of UFO based and consciousness based. And I purchased one of his paintings a while ago, and it was a pretty penny, but it's a lovely painting, original, acrylic. And imagine if I said to that guy, "I tell you what, give me that painting for free, and I'll just give you a shout out on my podcast." It just wouldn't work, would it? The hours that the guys put into it, the money he would have spent to create that painting, the heart and the love that would have gone into that particular piece of work, it just doesn't hold water. So why should it be the same here? Why should I just give away a book to this guy? And heaven forbid he deleted my post off his group. Well, I can live with that, mate. Because I think if you were to moan about this, I think I would come out on top, to be honest. But and I'm not going to say much more about this. I just wanted to put it out there because it's proof. It's proof of what I've spoke of before, these big egos that exist within the paranormal world, wanting something for nothing. I do give free copies. I give free copies to people that interview me on their show, because they give 2, sometimes 3 hours of their time to talk to me about my book. So absolutely, I will give them a copy. Plus, they need one in order to know what to talk to me about, so they get a free PDF copy. Although I do get a lot of people that say, I'll just send it me and I'll pay you for it. But most of the time, I don't let them. I do just give it them. So it's a bit frustrating, really. But there you go. I've let it go, really. I've let it go. So, well, I've just spoke about it for 5 minutes, but I will let it go now, I promise. Rob, there's that Rob. He needs a bit of meditation. I think I do, Rob. I think I need to maybe meditate a little bit on that. So that's enough, really, for the paranormal side of things. Gonna have a drink. I want to move a little bit more onto what's been going on recently. I have made some notes. As I say, I was kind of let down with a really short notice tonight, so I've had to make some notes. So, Prince Philip. So Prince Philip has died this week, and I'm not going to go too much on about this because even the BBC have had complaints about how much they've gone on about him, really. And so I'm not going to subject you to any of that. But I genuinely think he died a few weeks ago. And for those that are tuning in, if you are from the paranormal world, the show is the Collective Conspiracy Show, and we do talk about things that are slightly... I don't know what's the word, maybe a bit fishy, a bit topical. But yeah, it's I think he died weeks ago when he was initially in hospital. And isn't it interesting that he recently had the jab? So is he one of those unfortunate people that have had the jab and have now unfortunately had an adverse reaction and died? Because they are out there, believe it or not. What was interesting was someone raised a point, and I had to go away and have a quick look to make sure it was true, but it was, that he was 99. He died on the the 9th of April, so the 9th day, which was the 99th day of the year. So we had 99999. And of course, if you look into numerology and symbology and stuff like that, it plays a big part in the way the elites rule the world, really, because it's occultism, it's symbology, it's numerology. And whether you believe it or not, that doesn't matter. If you think it's rubbish, that's absolutely your opinion. But what the worrying thing is these people do believe it. You know, whether you believe in the devil or Satan or anything like that, if you think it's rubbish, fine. But these people do believe it. And that's the worrying thing, because what they do is based around their beliefs. And we only have to look, I've spoken previously when I've had Andrew on and Mark and Bruce about this, but look at the numerology and look at the days that they tend to do things, particularly around the COVID situation. So they mandated masks on the 24th of July. That's 24th of the 7th, 24/7. These masks are here to stay. 24/7. They opened everything up last year on the 4th of July, Independence Day, giving our freedoms back. Again, slightly interesting. We had in December, they told us on the 21st that Christmas was cancelled. We were going to have the 5 days with our families and friends. They were cancelling it and making it only the 1 day. 21st of December is the winter equinox. Bad news, energy's low, shortest day of the year. It's not a really good day if you think about it from a druid perspective or an energy perspective, and they delivered bad news. It's really interesting. I think it was All Hallows Eve or Halloween when they announced some other restrictions last year. It's a long time ago now, but I remember thinking at the time that's an interesting date to be doing this on. See you, Claire. Thanks for joining in. Some people can't handle these kind of topics, but that's fine. But yeah, so there are these days where they kind of they do it on purpose, in my opinion. And of course, they're lifting everything. When are they lifting everything? Supposedly on the 21st of June, which is the summer equinox. That's the longest day of the year. Energies are high. Everyone's in a good mood from a druid perspective. It's a really good time. And that's when they're releasing everything. So we have the 21st of December, the winter equinox, bad news, and the 21st of June, the summer equinox, great news. And it just keeps going. We keep getting this all the time. We had he came out on Friday, Easter Friday, to deliver a bit of bad news. It wasn't much, but a bit of bad news. Easter Friday comes out on Easter Monday. Christ is risen. Gives us some great news. We're still on track. Everything's going great on Easter Monday. So we have that symbology there again. And it's constant. You only have to look out for it. And once you begin to realise it, that's right, Martin, Halloween, the Brum protest date, yeah. Announcement to go into lockdown on bonfire night, of course, which was when Guy Fawkes tried to blow up Parliament and failed. Absolutely, Martin. Thanks for pointing that out. I remember we were doing something that day. It was the Birmingham protest. So if you just keep an eye on that, please, just keep an eye on it and have a look at all this kind of stuff that's going on and link it to dates and link it to think about the numerology, think about what they're doing, because there's definitely something in it. And people say, why can't they bring the lockdown forward? Why can't they bring it to before the 21st of June? I don't think they can, because that date is set. That date is set. It is the summer equinox, and what happens on that day has to happen on that day for a reason. Whether it's the good news that we're expecting or not, it will happen on that day. So just bear that in mind when they make announcements or when they talk about things. The Easter Monday one, they could have done that any day. Why on a bank holiday Monday? Give us a break. Could have done it on the Tuesday, the Wednesday. It really didn't matter that he did it on that Monday, but it was done for a reason. It's all done for a reason. Okay, moving on. As I said, I made notes. Hopefully you guys aren't too bored by it just being me again. So I've got some articles. Lined up here on the browser. Let's try and share this, shall we? Share screen. Chrome tab. Here we go. So in no particular order, because I haven't planned this whatsoever. Please ignore this stupid advert around the outside. So we have Pentagon scientists reveal a microchip that senses COVID-19 in your body before you show symptoms, and a filter that extracts the virus from blood. Wow. Just let that sink in. It's one of those where we spoke about passports, we spoke about all that stuff, and we say it leads on to to the implantables. Martin will vouch. He's married to a Swedish lady, but in Sweden, certain parts of the population have these RFID chips in their hand, which is where this is leading. All of this is leading to that kind of surveillance. And they're putting it out there for all to see now. They really are laying their roadmap on the out for everybody to see. Now, if you scroll down this article, and I think I can, I forget that I'm in control. But you can see here about how so we got DARPA. So the team at the Defence Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, have now been working for years on preventing and ending pandemics. Now, for those watching, look up the links between Google and DARPA, and you will be astounded. They are essentially the same company. So that also means they're the same company as YouTube. So DARPA have been collecting data for years and years. So it's no shock that these are the people that have been working on this. And apparently what happens here is, as I read this article earlier, they talk about how it could be used in the Navy. As you can see, there's some pictures of some boats. You put it underneath your skin, and what that tells you is that there is a chemical reaction going on inside the body, and that signal means you're going to have symptoms tomorrow. It's like a check engine light. Sailors would get the signal, self-administer a blood draw, and test themselves on site. We can have information in 3 to 5 minutes. As you truncate that time, as you diagnose and treat, what you do is stop the infection in its tracks. Now let's talk about that infection. This is an infection that kills less than 1% of the population in the UK as well. This is an infection that only, I think, less than 500 people, correct me if I'm wrong, but less than 500 people under the age of 60 have died from directly of COVID. This is an infection that in the UK has an average age death of 83, which is older than the average age. So actually, by catching COVID, you can give yourself an extra year of life. Interesting. But people are losing track of all this. People are losing track of, we're doing this, thinking about the masks that are here to stay. All this social distancing that's here to stay. Sticking microchips in your hand to test to make sure we can stop this infection in its track. They're going to test this on people in the Navy. Now, I can only assume that people in the Navy are fit. They are healthy, very fit. They have to pass stringent exercise classes. They have to pass certain criteria in order to get into the Navy. These aren't people that are going to die from COVID. They won't have underlying health issues like the vast majority of the people that do die. It's completely wrong. We're losing track of what this is all about. Well, we're not, but people are. People think this is a great thing, maybe, but I don't. I think what this does is it really lays out the future and where they want this to go in one small article. So let's just we'll move on again. As I say, I'm probably not going to be here for the full hour. There's only so much I can talk for, to be quite honest. Let's share the next one. So let's share screen. I'm getting used to this now. I know what I'm doing. Where shall we go next? In no particular order. Yeah, let's do this one. So, as you can see, this is the other one I've got here. COVID-19. So this broke today, breaking news today. NHS coronavirus app update blocked for breaking privacy rules. Under the conditions agreed with Apple and Google, so that will be your Apple Play Store and your Google Play Store, public health authorities are required to not collect location data on users. And again, I'm not going to go down all this article because of time, but if you go and have a look, it talks about how there was a new feature that was supposedly meant to be in this new app, in the update, that would allow users, once they've been tested, to upload the list of all the venues that they had been in. Now, again, people see this and they think, but it's for our safety. Just like after 9/11, when the Patriot Act was brought in and people were being fisted in airports, searched for whatever, under the Terrorist Act, and it's for our safety. How many more times do you have to say that it's for our safety and for our freedoms? And that's what's happening here. So essentially, GDPR Now, for those that might know previous guests, Mark Connellan has done a lot around GDPR where this is concerned. He made a very, very informative post on his Facebook the other day about how if you go into a place and they ask you to give the details, you can ask them what they do with the details. You can ask for risk assessments. You can ask for their data protection manager to show you what they do with all of your details and how they deal with your details, etc. And essentially, you've got them by the balls. You got them by the jaffers because what they're doing is breaking GDPR, and that's essentially what Google and Apple and the irony of Google and Apple kind of stopping the government in its tracks, saying, "Oh, you can't collect that much data," because of course we know they do it as well. But they've basically told them we're not updating the app with what you want us to do because it's illegal. We can't collect that data. So people should be downloading this new updated app in order to scan this new track and trace thing that's going on. You can just hear my frogs in the background there. To update this track and trace thing, or trace and test as it's now called, not track and trace. And they're supposed to scan it with this new app, and then it would keep a history of everywhere that you've been. So when you do test positive, they can go back through that history and look at everywhere you've been. This is China. Make no bones about this. This is China. We are moving into a communist state. We are moving towards a social crediting system. We are moving towards that episode of Black Mirror where you can only hang around with people that have the same scores as you. In China, happening now, no conspiracy. They have the green, amber, and red citizenship, where you can only drive on certain roads if you are a green citizen. And you think of everything that this could affect when we're on our universal basic income because there's no jobs left for us anymore. And they can take 10% of your monthly wage off you because you went to a protest, or you were caught speeding, or you didn't quarantine for 14 days after you caught the Cannock Chase variety of the coronavirus. These are scary times, really scary times. And the irony of it all is big corporations such as Google and Apple have actually stopped the government in their tracks and said, we can't do this. This isn't right. So the app that they've wanted to roll out hasn't worked. And apparently Scotland have got round this by developing a new app. Can't remember what it's called, We Scotland or something like that. They've developed a new app and they've got around this. So, again, make no bones about it, the government will have something ready for this. They always have something ready. But isn't that an interesting article? Something to bear in mind if you are going to go out and scan these codes. It's not just so you can get in for a pint. They will know exactly everywhere you've been. And of course they do anyway. You've got your phone in your pocket. They know everywhere you've been. Well, I've got my Nokia 3310 that I bought for £25 off eBay last year when this first started. So there were two bonuses to buying that Nokia 3310. One, it meant when I go to a pub, I have a reasonable excuse to not scan their barcode. And two, I can play Snake again, which I haven't played since I was about 12 years old. Remember Snake? It was a fantastic game on the old Nokias. Okay, so we'll just stop sharing that one and we'll move on to the next article. God, time is ticking on. It's amazing how fast it goes. Hopefully you're all enjoying this. I am getting some comments. I'll come back to them shortly. Okay, so we're going to go with this one, which will lead me nicely onto what I want to talk about next. Adverts everywhere, look. People in their 40s will be invited for COVID jabs from tomorrow after the government hits target on vaccination for priority groups. Hits target? Haven't we today supposedly achieved herd immunity? But what is herd immunity, I hear you ask? Herd immunity was, according to the World Health Organization, around about this time last year, achieved through most of the population essentially getting ill enough that they now have antibodies and it's not really much to worry about. They then changed that later in the year to use the word vaccination in their description of herd immunity, their definition of herd immunity. It is now achieved through the majority of the population being vaccinated. Isn't that handy? Literally changing science before our eyes. And it's all there to see. The two articles side by side. You can find them if you search enough to show the change that they made. So we supposedly hit herd immunity today by whatever definition they're using nowadays. So why are we still in lockdown? 99% of the people that were at risk of getting COVID and dying So, the over 70s, the people with underlying health conditions, they've all had the jab, supposedly. So why are we still here? Why do the people in their 40s need the jab? Why do they? Well, I think they need it because they will need it to do things. They will need it to participate in society. So again, it is no longer about the health of us. It is no longer about what we looking after us, looking after our health, protecting us from a virus. It's nothing about that. At the very lowest kind of form of all this, you've got to at least admit someone is making a killing out of this. Same as the Nightingale hospitals. The Nightingale hospitals were opened, they did shaggle, and they were closed again. I think one hospital treated like 17 patients or something. Absolutely awful. But who made those? Who built those hospitals? Who deconstructed them again? Who had the big fat brown envelope from someone in government to build those? Because someone made a lot of money. Same as the PPE that's going around now and the masks. And we see it all the time. It comes out in the news all the time, Matt Hancock's old next door neighbour was awarded a contract for PPE. Someone else's sister or something was given the award for the track and trace app. 38 was it billion spent on that, and it's done absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. 38 billion. I think for 10 times that you can stick a rover on Mars. Apparently, that's how much it costs to put that last rover on Mars. And what have they done? Nothing. Where's that money going? It's going somewhere. It's funneling into somewhere. It's quite scary when you think about it. Now, the wife's mum, she's a teaching assistant at school, so she has to do this whole rigmarole of testing students on a daily basis or whatever it is. And she has to throw away each pair of gloves after every time she's tested a student. She tests about 50 or 60, and there's about 10 of them that will be testing on the morning. So you can imagine how many pairs of gloves per day are being thrown away. I wouldn't mind a fraction of what that particular glove company are making. But it's fine. We're throwing away these plastic masks. We're throwing away these plastic gloves. But it's fine because I have my cardboard straw. So everything is fine. I've saved the planet. I drive my electric car and I have my cardboard straw that breaks down in anything rougher than a Coke. Stick it in a milkshake, you're only going to drink half of it because your straw will just break down in front of you and you won't be able to finish the rest of it. It's fine. We can throw away these gloves. We can throw away these masks. People at the moment are going on about the Seaspiracy that they've watched on Netflix, talking about all the plastic in the oceans. I haven't watched it, but does it talk about this, how 70% of the plastic in the oceans is from the fishing industry? But they can't talk about that because they make too much money from the fishing industry. So what do? They turn it around on you. It's your fault, just like climate change. Nothing to do with the 70% from the fishing industry that they make too much money on to mention. It's your fault for having plastic straws. Better use those cardboard straws. Just think about it. We're being played in every way possible. And it's not just about the plastic straws. It's about the climate change, which we spoke of last year. It must have been July time in one of the earlier shows. I think we had Andrew and Bruce on, and we spoke about how what's happening here is really, really feeding into climate change, the climate change agenda. Maybe this is a show for another day. But the climate change agenda, because I remember there were articles coming out. You guys might remember. There were articles coming out showing how, the oceans were cleaner, the air was cleaner, and even now on Sky News, they're actually showing the essentially how clean the air is because we're not out at the moment. As a constant figure, like they have been giving us updates on vaccines and stuff, they're doing the same now for air pollution, basically. And that's the way it's going. They want you working from home, getting used to working from home because you ain't going to be driving anywhere. Because driving places kills the environment. But of course, these people putting these rules in place, they're not stopping. Bojo going up to Scotland a few weeks ago. We had Prince Charles and his bit of side totty flocking off to Greece, a while back. We had Boris Johnson's dad going to Greece, to his house in Athens. It's all happening. They're all doing it, but it's your fault. It's your fault for driving that BMW diesel. It's your fault for drinking out of that plastic straw. It's your fault. And that's how they spin it. That's how they spin it all the time. Anyway, massively off topic there. Let's get back to the jabs. I could see Gary. Hi, Gary. Hope you're all right, mate. He's put, I've had my 2 jabs, definitely not having any more at all. Well, unfortunately, Gary, you're going to have to, mate, because there's going to be a booster jab later in the year, no doubt. They've already spoken about it. As I say, for the Cannock Chase variant, you're going to have the booster jab. And it'll be like the flu jab. You'll have to have it every year. But we never had a passport for the flu jab, did we? But we're going to have one for this. But flu's disappeared, so that's fine. Don't have to worry about flu anymore. That's a thing of the past. No one's dying of the flu anymore. It's all about COVID. No, not happening, says Gary. Well, stick to your guns, mate, because it's only by doing that we're actually going to get out of this shithole. So what does this mean? What does it mean about the people in their 40s? Let's think about this then. So moving on. So I'm just going to get rid of this. You can see my big, ugly face full on. Oh, there we are. So let's think about this. We've had the old people, the over 70s, the people with underlying health conditions. They took the vaccine. They were shit scared. They had a year of salesmanship. They had a year of someone telling them, get the jab, you're going to die, get the jab. Of course they were going to get the jab. They had millions of people lining up for it the second they opened those vaccination doors. However, there's now other people, as you come down through the age categories, there are people beginning to resist. So the other day we had Matt Hancock say, a while back now, Matt Hancock say, oh, we're running out of vaccines. There's going to be a shortage of vaccines. And then the vaccine manufacturers came out and went, don't know what you're on about, mate. We've got plenty here. What were they doing? Was he telling the truth? Of course not. It was Matt Hancock. What he was doing, he was covering his own arse. He's covering his own arse because it's not that they're running out of vaccines. They're running out of people to stick them in. They're meeting resistance. As they come down the age groups, as they've already done the people with comorbidities and the people over 70s, people are beginning to resist. And it's going to be the 40s and under. Now, when you look at this COVID passport, which is happening, it's happening in Israel, and we'll come on to that in a minute, the whole Israel thing. But when you look at these COVID passports, what are they targeting? They're targeting comedy clubs. They're targeting pubs, supposedly. They've pulled that one now, though. They're targeting football, rugby, concerts, festivals. So who's trialling it? It was the 6, 7 or 8 places they were going to trial it. So you had the snooker at the Crucible in Sheffield. You had Wembley for the FA Cup semi-final and the FA Cup final, I think. You had, I'm an Albion fan, so that doesn't matter. I ain't going there. You had a comedy club, a nightclub. Are these the kind of places that you're going to get 50s and 60-year-olds? Or is it the kind of place where you're going to get your 30s, your 20s, your early 40s? They're the kind of people that are going to go to the football. They're the kind of people, and I'm not saying that old people don't go to the football, but they're the kind of people that you're going to get at the nightclubs, at the comedy clubs, at the pubs, at the festivals. So what are they doing? They're targeting them. They are coercing them. They are making them feel that they have to have this vaccine, because if they don't, they can't enjoy life. They can't socialise. They can't participate in society. And this is what they're doing. This is how they're coercing them. You don't see COVID vaccine passport trial at Mecca Bingo, do you? You don't see a passport trial at the local social club on a Saturday night where the average age is 75, do you? You're seeing these COVID vaccine passport trials at all the places that the younger generations are wanting to go. And that's how they're coercing them. And that people get stressed about this. People think, oh, this is really bad. I see it as a good sign. I see that they're struggling. They are really struggling. Why are we having to be pummeled day in, day out with this? Why is it the biggest propaganda advert? They're pumping so much time, effort, and money into this. Obviously, they're going to get something out of it. But it tells me that they're struggling. It tells me they're really struggling, particularly with the younger age groups now. Now, my mum works. There's 4 people in my office at work, and not one person is having the vaccine. We're all under 35. My mum was telling me that she was talking to 9 people in her office, ranging from 21 to 30, and every single one of them said that they weren't going to get the vaccine. And it's not that they're anti-vax, because, of course, this, Michael Barraclough, hi, Michael, hope you're all right, mate. It's not because we're anti-vax, because, of course, that's the new thing. Oh, you're anti-vax. Not really. I mean, I've had all my vaccines. My son, who's 1.5 now, he's had his vaccines. He's up to date with his. That's fine. What I am anti is something that's taken, 6 months to make, that is causing adverse reactions already, as proven. I am anti that. And I'm anti it because I don't feel like I need it. I've never had the flu jab. People have it, fine. If you feel unsafe, go and get it. I don't hold it against you. But I don't have it, and I'm asthmatic, and I get offered it every year. get offered it every year, but I don't take it. Why should I? Why should I? I don't feel like I need to take it. And if something happens to me, that's my responsibility. I'm a grown adult. I've made that choice. Now, I heard someone say on the radio the other day, we're releasing this Moderna vaccine because we want to give the under 30s a choice between the AstraZeneca and the Moderna. They can make a responsible choice. Well, yeah, but can they not make a responsible choice just to not have one? Is that not a choice anymore? Have we just taken that choice off the table? Are we only allowed to have one or the other? We've got to have one or the other. We can't leave the shop until we pick one. What's that all about? Or in this case, the irony being we can't enter the shop until we've had one. But it's an absolute joke. As grown adults, we should be able to make a decision. I make a decision every time I get in the car. I make a grown-up decision every time I cross the road. Every time I throw my son up in the air to catch him. I take a risk and I live by it. Some people will die by it. But that's our choice to make. And of course, people say, but if you don't take it, you shouldn't be allowed to go to the NHS and overburden them. Well, I won't be overburdening them, will I? Because 99% of the people who will die or end up in hospital because of COVID have had the jab. And flu has completely vanished. So if you ask me, I think the people in the hospital will be grateful of someone like me going in ill because they've got nothing to do otherwise, have they? It's just logic. People have lost logic. People aren't thinking about it anymore. They're so scared. They're so plugged into the system, into the mainstream news. Every day you get up, it's on the telly. You get in the car, it's on the radio. Billboards as you're driving down the road. You get to the office, someone's talking about it. On and on it goes. And what's happened with the under 30s with the Moderna? Again, quite simple. I think what's happened is they believe that people that age aren't having the vaccine because they're worried about the side effects. They're worried about the side effects. Well, what have they done? They've altered their product to suit their, their kind of market, I suppose. If Apple had a phone and if Apple realised that the over 60s weren't really buying Apple phones, and the general feeling they got from it was because, well, the buttons are too small on their phone. So they go and release a new phone. They don't market it to the over 60s per se, but they release a new phone with big buttons. And all of a sudden, sales in the Apple phone for over 60s go through the roof. They're happy. They go and buy it. So they've adjusted their product for the market. And I think that's all they've done here. They've adjusted the product, the vaccine, for the market. They've said now the under 30s are supposedly supposed to sit there and go, oh, well, I was worried and I was really concerned about the side effects, but they've tackled that and they're looking after me and they've given me an alternative. And if I don't have that alternative, I can't go to Wembley and I can't go to the comedy club, so I'd better go and get it then. And that's what they're doing. People on the fence, they're just nudging them one by one. You can't go on holiday. Oh, I better go and get it then. And then you have other people, well, I can live with that. I don't need to go abroad. How about you can't go to the pub? Oh, well, I do like going to the pub on a Friday with my mates. I better go and get it then. That's another one off the fence. The next person, yeah, I can live with that. Don't need to go to the pub. No, but you can't go to your festivals and see your favourite bands. Oh, I do like going to festivals. Nudge, there's another one off the fence. And that's what they're doing, bit by bit, trying to nudge you off the fence. But if we stand our ground, and as people like Gary has said earlier, he's not going to have any more. But you will be asked to, Gary, and it will become really part of what you have to do, unfortunately, I believe. You will be asked to do it. If we stand our ground, then this ends. It's really that simple. So we've got about 10 minutes left. We've got a few more things that I'd like to just have a look at, if you don't mind. Thank you for sticking around. It is massively off the cuff, this. Like I said, I had about an hour's notice that the guest was cancelling and cracked open a beer and threw together a show. So let's just talk about a few other things. So, okay, what have we got? Let's talk about this. So we're still on COVID, of course, because it's dominating our lives. Let's share this. Getting quite good at this now. Where are we? There we go. Share. Share. A lot of buttons you have to click to get this to show. So, COVID News Live. So this was on Sky News earlier. UK latest. New infections leap in the UK as pubs and shops flooded on major lockdown easing. Well, I'll be damned. Wasn't that quick? They only opened today. They haven't even been open 24 hours, and apparently they have statistics to show that new infections leap in the UK. Now look at that clever headline. Look at that clever headline. New infections leap in the UK as pubs and shops flooded on major lockdown easing day. So you'd be forgiven for thinking, just looking at that headline, that it was the reason for the flood of infections, the rise in infections, was because people rushed out to enjoy their lives a little bit. But if you read down the article, hopefully this will work. Great, we added that. If you read down the article, this was further down. I'm going to have to change screen so I can't read that. Today's official COVID figures are now out and shows, I think I can zoom in for you guys if you're probably watching this on your phone or something. Does that work for you? Is that better? There we go. Today's official COVID figures are now out and shows a significant jump in the number of new reported cases. A total of 3,568 confirmed over the last 24 hours. So now they're going before the pubs and that were open. Indeed, it is the highest number so far this month. We're 12 days into the month, and as most on a single day since 3,743 recorded on the 31st of March. So it was the highest number this month, and the last highest number was the last day of last month. Hardly a million miles away, was it? It should be noted that the number of deaths remains relatively low. And let's not forget, we are in a case-demic, not a pandemic. It should be noted that the number of deaths remain relatively low, with 13 registered compared to 7 yesterday. Okay, so nearly double, but 26 on this day last week. So they don't say that, actually, it's halved in a week, do they? They're not pointing that out to you. No. It's a case-demic. I mean, you look at that. So apparently 13 registered deaths today. Out of how many cases? 3,568. That's just new cases, and those deaths would have been from people that would have caught it a while ago anyway, and probably died within 28 days of a positive test after being mauled by the next door's cat or something like that. Because no one really dies directly of COVID, do they? So again, we have this great example of misleading headlines. And you have to really read down into the article to find out actually what they mean. Because you could be forgiven for thinking that it's us going to the pub that has caused this rise. When they opened the beaches, when people have been on protests, there's been no proof that cases have come from that. And I didn't see any police railroading the people stood outside Buckingham Palace yesterday and today, like the people that went for the vigil for that lady that died. And there's a lot to talk about there, so that's probably a different show as well. But, again, the police kneel for Black Lives Matters. They cave your head in if you're protesting anti-lockdown. Right, let's move on to the next one. Last one now, really. Can I skip a picture here? Let's zoom out. There we go. Great. Now this one. I did share this on my Facebook. Martin, you haven't seen our neighbour's cat. Now, he does live next door to Dudley Zoo, so it would be a big cat. We've got here, this was something put out by Black Country Ales, who are just a brewery chain around where I live in the Black Country. And tables of 6. I mean, just look at this. Look, this is the fun you're going to have when you pop out for a pint. Tables of 6, NHS test and trace. Toilets are accessible, but you must wear a mask. Table service only. Don't get up. Don't get up. Doesn't that sound fun? It's depressing, isn't it? I put on my Facebook earlier that I'm not excited about the pubs being open. I can't get excited about the pubs being open. Part of the going to the pub is sitting at home and thinking, should we pop for a pint? Yeah, go on, then let's just pop for a pint. You can't just pop for a pint. You got to book in advance. And when you get there, you can't just walk in because you got to do the NH test and trace. You got to fill in your name and number. They'll ask for your inside length, leg length, and your star sign and what your first pet was called. And that's before you've even got through the door. And then when you do get through the door, you got to stick a mask on, even though there's no one else really around you because they're all outside. You got to stick a mask on. Table service only. I used to love being at the pub. I would regularly sit at the bar or lean on the bar, and then you'd see someone over the other side of the pub. Ask me, mate. I ain't seen him for a while. I'm gonna go over and have a chat. Oh, you can't do that. You gotta stay seated. You can't go and mingle and socialise and partake in activities. That is the whole point of going to the pub, in my opinion. The whole point is just to socialise, to mingle, listen to the band on a Saturday night. It's just not fun. Where's the fun in that? But people are so desperate. They were queuing up at 1 minute past midnight last night to have a pint. And, fair play to the pubs and anyone that does go. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you have fun. And fair play to the pubs, and I hope they do well. But, I think it's something like a staggering 60% of pubs won't reopen today. And that's because they have gone out of business, so they no longer exist. Or because they can't facilitate the outdoor requirements that are needed at this phase of opening up. But people will say "Happy Pub Day." I've heard people say, which it's a bit of a laugh. But they've been deprived of it for so long. It's almost Stockholm syndrome, isn't it? Thank you, oh great one, for letting us go to the pub now. And it's not going to the pub, is it? You're sat outside, freezing your tits off, nipples like cans of Coke. You can't go and talk to your mate over there because he's had the balls to turn up with another group of 6, so he's sat at a different table. You can't go and talk to him. I'll catch him in the toilet. I'll have a chat with him in the toilet. Oh, you can't do that because it's 1 in, 1 out and you've got a mask on, so you can't hear what he says anyway if he does talk to you. It's an absolute joke. It really is. I do feel sorry for these businesses. I really do. But, if they... Unfortunately, I'm getting to the point now where if they continue to play along with the rules, I will lose sympathy for them, really, because it's a shame, but they've kind of built a rod for their own back, I guess. Just go through this, make sure I've covered everything. So this was the statement from the comedy club. So this will be the last thing we really talk about tonight. So again, I'll zoom in. Sorry, guys. I keep forgetting you can't really see it. Zoom in. It's okay. So this was this was the comedy club that the government said would be participating in the passport trial. As I've said here on my Facebook post, a good read, particularly the part where they're highlighting that they'd had over 4,000 individual complaints in 2 days from people opposing the notion. So they cancelled it. They basically said, we're not participating in this. And the weird thing was we had people commenting on this saying, well, it's because of people like anti-vaxxers putting pressure on them. Not really, is it? They even say in their statement, they say themselves that they don't agree with it. It's not something that they believe in. So they've cancelled it. They don't want to be part of it. And I think we'll see this. We'll see more and more of this. But unfortunately, what we have, and going back to Gary earlier, if he doesn't have this third jab that they'll be proposing in a few months, we'll have a 2-tier society. You'll have, it's apartheid, medical apartheid. In the 50s, you'd go to a restaurant, and if you were black, you were made to sit over there with the other blacks, and that's what it will be here. We'll have, are you vaxxed or unvaxxed? Oh, I'm unvaxxed. Oh, you got to go and sit over there then. I've even heard talk of cinemas proposing unvaccinated nights where the unvaccinated can go to watch a film. Aren't we lucky? It's an absolute joke. And if we participate in it, then we're only making it worse for ourselves, and we're building our own prison ultimately. But I don't think, I personally, cards on the table now, don't think the passports will stick. I just don't think they will stick. I think it's being used as coercion to push the younger generations off the fence. I don't think it will stick, but it has stuck in places. It's stuck in Albania. It's stuck in Israel. Now, Israel, someone said the other day, I can't believe what's going on in Israel, and it's weird, isn't it? Because Israel is a nation essentially built off apartheid. They lived it during World War II. They were made to wear certain identity, their Star of David on their sleeve or whatever to show that they were Jewish. They were asked for their papers by the Nazis. Where is your bibbers? They were asked that all the time. Awful German accent. So for that nation to now be implementing something that is apartheid, essentially, I've heard that children can't go to school if their parents aren't vaccinated now in Israel. It's disgusting, and I've had people say, how can that happen in Israel after everything that they went through? Well, when you understand, this was my response to one of the posts, when you understand that the Israeli government are Zionists, not Jewish, then it makes complete sense, because Zionism is completely different to Judaism. It's a completely different. It's just different. Zionism is a movement. It's a cult essentially. It's an agenda. It's nothing to do with Jews. Someone has put Palestine near me. I'm not sure who that is. You've just come up as Facebook user, but yeah, I apologise. It is Palestine essentially. I do apologise, but it is Israel. It's Israel now. That's where the vaccine. Palestine. The Palestinians don't have to present a passport. They're already behind bars essentially, aren't they? But the Israelis, who thought they were free, thought they lived in a free nation, are now being denied school access for children if they don't take the vax. They're being accessed. They're being denied access into retail, into theatres, into sporting events if they haven't had the vaccine. And that's the way it's going. That's the way it's going. Right, we're right out of time, I'm afraid. It is pretty much smack on the hour. Just want to thank everyone for joining me. It wasn't the show as advertised. I was let down by the guest, but I did manage to throw a show together in the short notice that I had. Thank you for joining. Going to be back on in 2 weeks' time, so that will be 19th, 26th of April with a very good friend of mine, Bernie. He's going to come on to talk about his experiences with other realities, and it's really going to be a discussion around nature of reality and the perception of the world that we live in. Linked to what I was talking about at the start with my book. Again, if anyone is interested in the book, please just let me know. Shameless, absolutely shameless self-plug here, but why not? Do go and get that from Amazon, or let me know if you'd like me to send you a copy. And yeah, thank you for joining, guys, and I'll be back in a couple of weeks. Please, if you're not part of the Collective Conspiracy Show group on Facebook, send me an invite, and I'll link you in. I'll get you in the group. We can discuss things. And if you just want to add me as a friend on Facebook, it's always good, nice and good to surround yourself with people on your own frequency, which I'm sure we all are. So thank you for joining. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy the rest of your week. And I'll speak to you all soon. Take care.